Maria, thank you for coming on the program. How are you?
I'm good. Angry, but in search of justice. You know, I felt like yesterday it wasn't just me and Rappler on trial, Ray. It was our justice system, and you know, I've been targeted by authorities for years. This followed this kind of attacks on social media, the weaponization of social media. Well, yesterday the judiciary became implicit in this insidious campaign to silence us. And the court of the Montesa court so codified it into law, and we're going to fight this. We won't be silenced.
I guess, Maria, for the benefit of many of our viewers who might not be following your case and the case of media in the Philippines as closely, could you just briefly lay out maybe for us why you think your case and the other cases that are in front of you as well, and perhaps also with other journalists in the country, why do you think all of these things, or most of these things, are politically motivated?
Sure. So a lot of the attacks began in 2016 when we tried to hold government to account, to question impunity of this brutal drug war. Tens of thousands killed, according to human rights groups, right? And then when I questioned the impunity of the propaganda machine on social media, I was attacked with 90 hate messages per hour. And the message there was, you know, she's not a journalist, she's a criminal. Well, it just took a few years from 2016 to 2020, and now I am. You know, it goes hand in hand, exponential attacks on social media. By 2017, the same attacks came out of President Duterte's mouth in his State of the Nation address. A week later, I got my first subpoena, and then in 2018, in about 14 months, Rappler was slapped with 11 cases and investigations. The cyber libel was the second one. It came a month after notice to shut down, to revoke our license to operate. And in 2019, I faced 8 criminal charges. I was arrested twice, detained once, all for doing my job. This verdict is a blow because it actually violates the legal acrobatics to make this happen. Has impact not just on press freedom, but on every Filipino here. They changed the statute of limitations of libel from 1 year to 12 years, and then introduced a novel theory of continuous publication, of republication. Essentially, because someone in Rappler fixed a typo, one letter in one word, I could go to jail for 6 years.
Right.
Sorry, can I also say, in the context of the shutdown of the largest broadcaster in the Philippines, ABS-CBN, that happened last month. The verdict takes on menacing tones.
Maria, it's Tom here in Beijing. Will you take this conviction, will you appeal this conviction, or will you take it to the top court?
We have yet to meet with our lawyers. This only happened yesterday. We will study it. The verdict itself, the way it's written, is quite contemptuous, both of me, of Rappler, of our gatekeeping. You know, it tries to frame it as a quality of journalism issue when it is far from that. We will challenge it. The proper venue, we're not quite sure yet, but we can let you know within the week.
I just wondered if you could put this in the context of the erosion of press freedoms in the Philippines under President Duterte. The country now ranks 136th out of 180 nations in the World Press Freedom Index. To what extent do you think the calculation is from Duterte and his team that the US is going to turn a blind eye to any erosion of press freedoms, given that Trump himself has shown disdain for a free press?
I think that's part of the calculation. But you can also see that the Duterte government right now is consolidating power. He may be the most powerful leader. In fact, I would say he is the most powerful leader that our nation has had, because essentially he's been able to get a martial law type conditions, control in this strong force without having to declare martial law. Of course, this is with the aid of the COVID-19 lockdown, but there is an anti-terror bill that quickly passed through the House of Representatives that would really codify the loss of rights. It would allow for arrests without warrant, detention for up to 24 days. And this is just waiting for the president's signature.
Maria, final question. In terms of, I guess, what moves the needle for you and send a strong enough signal, perhaps, in your view, that press freedom is not a threat in the Philippines, is the minimum for you at least an acquittal from all the remaining charges? And what would be your next steps?
I laugh a little bit. Of course, these cases should never even have made it to court. I am not a criminal. Being a journalist does not equate to being a criminal, and yet that is the social media messaging that has gone out since 2016. Our next step is to keep fighting. You know, we hold power to account. We keep doing investigative journalism because there is a lot that is happening in the graves, and a lot of these decisions have life and death impact on Filipinos here. COVID-19, for example, the data and how it's being relayed to the public. I think we're at the precipice, and if we don't fight for our rights now, not just freedom of the press, but for our rights as Filipino citizens, we will lose them.